So I'm gonna draw this. That's a very important line. This line which shows the brick structure, and it's important because of this brick of structure. Another important thing that you need to note is this space. There's a fair value gap. Looking for this. And there's a gap. In peradventure, the gap might be closed because the candle is not closed yet, but otherwise there's a gap here, and this in turn can be said to be an order block, although the other block is not complete as a result of it didn't take the low of, actually it took the low of a candle around this point. So I like to pick this as an order block, but you can see that there's a space around here, so this is actually good for an order block, though it can be extended from here. That's also another point to note. So say this an order block, 30 minutes order block, but notwithstanding, we'll also put this place into consideration. And so to put this into consideration. Putting that into consideration being that so let's see what this has for us. And then let move. Okay. I would normally haven't seen this, even though already in the 15 minutes time frame it's showing like it's supposed to bounce down. I would normally enter a trade at around this point. It did show a reason for me to be able to enter in trade, even though not a complete reason. It has already covered the fair value gap, and this first part that we assume to be more like the start of the other block, we can say we cover up to that point. Yes, we can cover up to that point, and if this doesn't go and it's to 2, if this doesn't go, we would re-enter below the yellow line, or you can decide to make your stop loss like this, but that would mean we would increase our take profit to give us at least a 1:2, and let's see how it goes. And it hit it. So you can see it's simple as it is, just following a process, a working process. It's just about another one has formed. You can see we already have a break of structure. We have a break of structure. You can use that. That's a break of structure. Sorry. This is a break of structure. Just below the break of structure, there is something interesting, and that is our fair value gap, just a little above the break of structure. There's a fair value gap which we can see. You can all see. You can see this gap. Let's even take it from here to here. So, or you can even use this O1. You can see from here. Yes, I could pick from here, but not necessary, because some people can argue it's not a fair value gap, but it is a fair value gap because that candle is still within the this thing. Then there is the last thing, which is our other block. That's our other block. There's still one more thing, but it's not shown. It has not formed, so might be we might have possibly waited for it to form, but we didn't, although that is the inducement or liquidity, which is very important. So with this, you don't just enter, you wait and watch what really happens before you place a trade. Yes. So let us watch what's going to happen, and with this sort of like inducement is formed, and let's see if it's going to come back now. I'm waiting for it to come back. If it will come back, these are liquidities. We hope it comes back. It comes back. And if it goes beyond, then we can leave it. It will still come back later on, but if the trade is gone. So the trade has shots higher, but knowing fully well that these are important levels also. It's an important level. That would be nice if the trade came back to this level. This was a good entry. Then it again. Let's see. Let's just see. I don't think this trade is going to come back again. And boom. Okay, you can see came. Unfortunately, with this, I'd have entered a trade. I would enter a trade, yes, because usually it's good to wait. Usually it's good to wait, but I would possibly enter the trade here. You can see it's really large, and I will enter it there. Make sure it's below, depending on what you want. Here is below the other block. It actually makes it very high. Let's see if we can get 1 to 2, which is basically what we're looking for. 1:2. It's quite high. It might still come down. There's a risk that it can come and take everything off all the same. Let's just watch and see. And the trade has started to move. There's something else we need to see. Need to watch. Not so much, but you need to be careful around this level, because this you can see from that level there's also a fair value gap above. So the trade can actually retrace around that point, but we can also see something there on the point. Let me see what this arrow maker is. Okay, you can see there's a fair value gap around this point, and this point here is where it could bounce and come retrace back in its fair value gap. So it has broken this, and around this you can see also as it's going, created a fair value gap. There's something of such of an order block around here. After a long time you begin to realize what it is. Then we expect it to at least at this point, maybe at this point sort of like a little bit of a shore background, or it could retrace around this point because that's where it seems as if this other block is. So it could retrace around it, or it could retrace, come back to something around here, even though it didn't have a structure. It was actually that it actually broke around here, but do something around here and maybe we'll poof back to the top. So let's see what so far is going to happen. Just like I said, boom, back down, and you can see how it's reacting around that point. And let's see, it has broken structure. It's still, it might possibly, just like we say, it has broken structure, giving a good structure around this level. This break of structure is good. It's good because it gave us this long this structure. So there's a possibility that this being an important thing, this could act as the other block, while this will act as the fair value gap, and this will eventually retrace to this point and move back to the top and break the structure eventually. So these are confluences, possible actions that can happen within this trade. So let's mark that as important point, even though I don't want the I don't want it to be looking so choppy, messy around. But let us do the mapping all the same. So we'll do the map for this fair value gap, which has almost been covered. It's almost been covered. I think yes, almost, not totally covered. And then this is the other block, which would extend to about this point, even though that's quite large. It's just supposed to be within this point. But I'll put it here for certain reasons best known to me, and we'll see there's the liquidity already, and let's see if we can catch another trade from that point. So meanwhile, this trade still moves. I think with this at this level, I should have closed the trade around that point. So that trade is done and dusted, and this trade is done and dusted. And this trade is done and dusted. While it's done and dusted, there's this one looming around, the possibility of the market coming back to that point is there, while another where demand zone is showing already, and then there's a larger break of structure, that we can see. There's a larger break of structure, you can see, which is a very important part. See, initially structure was swept and later broken, and we can see there is a fair value gap showing again. For those of us that do not understand what I mean by the fair value gap, so you can see the fair value gap is showing again. There's space between these two. There's also space between this other block that has swept this low, and it's from this point has given a short fair value gap. But what I usually do is to pick the other flow, and the other flow will be from around this level down to the other block level. Some people will pick it below this, just a little above this, not at the lower part of the wick. So, but I'll pick it up to the lower part of the wick, and there's a fair value gap that I would consider. Not really this, but this is important for us if we want to scale lower. Consider this fair value gap, and you can see I would also consider this flow, but most importantly I would rather want to enter under this low, which will give me a better risk to reward ratio. So I would not do this drawing now, but we'll just watch what happens if we actually respect our analysis. And you can see it's there already, and it has formed an entry. That's formed an entry for us. It did form a good entry for us, and this point shown that it wants to move higher. You can see just at this point level it did get to this other block, just tapped on it. You can see if you had gone to like the 5 minutes time frame, that means you'll be catching this at a very low risk to reward ratio, but I'm catching it around this level. As after this dodgy candle has been formed, ideally I'm supposed to wait until either I notice the morning star has been formed before I enter. So with this I can enter this trade at this dodgy candle being formed. And even though one more reason for us to enter, one important reason for us to enter isn't there, I still want to enter the trade. Why? Because this is a risk entry. It's a risk entry. Every entry has its risk capacity, but it would have been nicer if the trade can give us a liquidity grab. If it had given us a liquidity grab somewhere around here, where there seems to be like a small structure formed that breaks this level or sweeps this level above, and then another one comes, picks it, and goes higher, rather being a much better trade to enter. And so you can see. So let's see what will happen. If we have this protected. Already is forming another structure, so we might not make this trade. This trade might be a loss for us. You see how it's going. I think this trade is already a loss for us, because I think it did
it did tap the lower level, so I think it's already a loss. Okay, it didn't. Okay, it actually didn't, and the trade actually converted. At this point, if you are not so sure, it actually turned into a loss for us. But the structure had changed. As you can all see. The structure had changed. It had already sort of, I would say, broken below. And so this is it. Anyway, this is it. So subscribe and do well to follow the notification. Click on the notification in case we send another video.